Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat and welcome to the 2023 Post-SONA discussions. After a successful State of the Nation address by President Marcos Jr., let us continue to dive deeper into his message as we tackle specific issues in our cluster panel discussions. Ang kapayapaan, seguridad at mabuting pamamahala ay seryosong usapin na tinututukan ng Administrasyong Marcos Jr. Dahil ang nagkakaisa at mapayapang Pilipinas ay susi sa bagong Pilipinas. Kasama natin ngayong hapon ang mga cabinet secretaries and agency heads of our Good Governance, Peace and Security Cluster. Starting with Undersecretary Marlu Iringan of the Department of Interior and Local Government. Teodoro Jr. of the Department of National Defense. Undersecretary Antonio Morales, Department of Foreign Affairs. Undersecretary Raul P. Vasquez, Department of Justice. Secretary Eduardo Año, Office of the National Security Advisor. General Romeo Bronner, Armed Forces of the Philippines. Chief PNP Police Brigadier General Rederico Maranan, Philippine National Police. Secretary Carlito Galvez Jr., Office of the Presidential Advisor on Peace, Reconciliation, and Unity. Undersecretary Joselito Basilio, Department of Budget and Management. Director General Ernesto Perez, Anti-Red Tape Authority. And Secretary Ivan Uy, Department of Information and Communications Technology. Okay, we have a full panel today, so let's get started. First question is for the DILG. The President said, quote, "We will give effect to the mandate of the Constitution and the Local Government Code as clarified by the Supreme Court soonest. Almost all of the required devolution transition plans of the LGUs are done. To fully prepare them for optimal devolution, the necessary technical and financial assistance is being extended to our local governments. Harmonizing national and local government priorities is one of the administration's thrusts. Is the administration considering simultaneously implementing the full devolution with the enactment of the LGU Income Classification Act? What are the other efforts of the government to prepare and capacitate the LGUs in their eventual takeover of devolved functions and services?"
Thank you, Ma'am Daphne. Magandang hapon po sa ating lahat. Even before the President assumed office in July 1 of 2022, he already met with the DILG, particularly Secretary Benjamin Abalos Jr. and our counterpart from the Department of Budget and Management, and directed both our departments to see how we can help address the issues and concerns raised by the local government units on the issue of full devolution. On the part of the DILG, knowing that local government units are not created equal because they do not have access to the same resources, they have different challenges, they have different needs of their constituents, and knowing that the absorption of the devolved functions and services, as mandated by Executive Order 138, will be greatly dependent on the priority development needs, the resources and capacity of the local government units. We recommended that time that we extend the transition period of full devolution to 2027 because per EO 138, it is up to 2025. We recommended that it will be extended to 2027 in order to give ample time GU, plus of course, the creation of the offices that would deliver the functions and services devolved to them. And Also, we came up with the recommendation that we need to properly delineate the functional, the LGU level where these functions and services will have to be devolved. Particularly, we are looking at targeted programs, projects, and activities. No? These are programs, projects, and activities that would require big funding, big funds. It would require specialized technical expertise of local government functionaries. It will be best implemented through economies of scale. So those are the things that we thought should be implemented by higher levels of government, particularly the national government and the provinces. We also came up with the list of universal programs, projects, and activities. And these are things that, these are the PPAs that are usually done at the local government unit level, like, for example, primary health care, solid waste management, and the like. Particularly, we also look at the segmentation of our local government units in terms of their capabilities and technical expertise. So based on the analysis that we did with the devolution transition plan, no, crafted by all our provinces, cities, and municipalities, we came up with an analytics. And we look at the capacity, particularly the capacity development needs of our LGUs. And we shared this with the different national government agencies. Aside from that, we looked at the result of the Seal of Good Local Governance, where we came up with, we identified LGUs which are high capacity and high performance, LGUs which are low capacity, low performance, LGUs which are low capacity and high performance, and the last category is high capacity, low performance, so that we would focus more our effort, our time in assisting local government units which belong to the category of low capacity, low performance. So those are some of the things that we have done, no, so far. But lately, the President gave instruction, no, for the suspension of Executive Order 138, so we are back to the drawing board. But meantime, we continue to provide technical assistance, not only the ILG, but other sectoral agencies of the national government. We continue to provide assistance to our local government units so that their competency, the skill of the people, no, in the local government unit will be greatly enhanced. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Let's move to Secretary of National Defense, Secretary Teodoro, who is at the Office of Civil Defense right now. Sabi ng ating Pangulo, our journey to progress requires not only unity and social cohesion among our people. It is also imperative that our nation remains intact and inviolable, our sovereignty preserved. We will protect our sovereign rights and preserve our territorial integrity in defense of rules-based international order. What are the plans of the DND to ensure realization of this commitment? What are the areas being strengthened and prioritized?
First and foremost, Daphne, the defense establishment is based on building blocks with strong fundamentals. We continue to build the strong fundamentals of a credible deterrent posture for our country. We continue the upgrades, continuing upgrades not only in our equipment, but bridging the gaps between the different horizons in our modernization timeframe and the concomitant upgrading of skills of our people, both in the civilian side of the Defense Department and the 5 agencies, realizing too that our territorial integrity may be subverted by outside threats through internal security challenges. We continue also to work closely with our partner agencies in government to maintain internal peace and stability. That being said, the President also instructed us to look for non-traditional partners in alliances for upgrading our defensive capabilities and our capabilities to predict and analyze trends in order to prepare for any eventuality which may befall our country and need the use of Department of National Defense resources in the future. We also are in the process too of looking for partners, not only for pure defensive purposes, but also for both convergence of both the economic potentials and security potentials of growth industries. particularly in technology and in cyber. And we are expanding also the scope of our self-reliant defense posture or program in order to have also the possibility of cross-border investments in disruptive and emergent technologies. As we know, the threats to the country become more asymmetric. We need stronger, real-time, and fully analyzed convergence of information from point of occurrence up to the decision-making process in as much real time as possible. We also are, because the strongest factor is the human element, we also are strongly into efforts to upgrade the morale and welfare of our men and women in uniform in the Department of National Defense. This includes our retirees and veterans, whom we are mandated to care for. And the President's instructions are that their welfare be made paramount in our mandate to uplift the lives and to continue the care, particularly of those who cannot care for themselves anymore, and to ensure that the well-being, safety, and health of their families, whom often these people are detached from because of deployments, are well taken care of. We also care for the educational opportunities of those of our brothers and sisters in uniform who have sacrificed themselves, the benefit of the service, and those who are continuing in the service, because they form a very disciplined and motivated pool of talent from which not only the defense sector can derive human capital from, but also other technological industries with a disciplined workforce. So these are some of the initiatives, and I forgot to mention too, our program management skills and project management skills to ensure that each and every item of equipment that we acquire is integrated into a system with synergies, and we receive and program adequate resources for the optimal utilization of each and every item of equipment for its life cycle. And we are slowly getting the management practices and our resource management, contracting, acquisitions capabilities in order to have an optimal balance of much necessary resources at the best possible value for our people, knowing that it is not cheap and defense is everybody's business.
Thank you, Secretary Teodoro. We'll move to Department of Foreign Affairs under Secretary Morales. ASEAN leaders have emphasized the need to reinforce ASEAN centrality, which views ASEAN as the dominant regional platform for overcoming common challenges and engaging with external powers. How does this assertion complement the country's independent foreign policy?
Thank you very much, Sec Daphne, for your question. First of all, I would like to extend my gratitude to you for inviting us here. And I'm honored to share this panel with distinguished heads of agencies. Before I answer the question, we all know that the President has already stated clearly an independent foreign policy based on our national interest. And since the President's last State of the Nation address, the DFA has already facilitated and undertaken landmark bilateral and multilateral engagements underscored by the President's clearly defined foreign policy to be a friend to all and an enemy to none. And one of our engagements, which is very constant since its founding, is ASEAN. And President Ferdinand Edwalin Marcos was our president when this was founded. And since that time, it is now 55, almost 56 years since ASEAN was founded. It has proven to be a very effective regional organization in the maintenance of peace and security and intensifying cooperation in the region. what does ASEAN centrality means? It means simply that ASEAN is the driving force. It is the driver's seat. It determines the agenda and how to engage with our external partners. And in our view, ASEC Daphne, this driving force mechanism means that the ASEAN will serve to balance, will serve to engage the external major powers as it has been doing now in the ASEAN economic summits, East Asian Summit, as well as in the ASEAN Regional Forum. And it serves to balance the engagement of the major powers in the region. We are now able to meet with them, advance our interests, which are consistent with the interests of our other ASEAN member countries. Of course, centrality does not mean unanimity in views. We have different perspectives, different conditions, concerns, but the things that bring us together enable us to deal with an entity which has greater force and greater respect and greater bargaining power. So it is, in our view, consistent with our independent foreign policy when we say that ASEAN centrality is a core principle, a goal, and a guiding vision and principle of the ASEAN. It is consistent with our independent foreign policy with friends to all. As ASEAN is a friend to all, it is intended to be open, transparent, inclusive, and rules-based. And Secretary Teodoro mentioned earlier about our defense, our promotion of our sovereign rights, as well as territorial integrity in defense of a rules-based international system. Precisely, the ASEAN centrality is a rules-based system, and it is something that we are promoting, that we are espousing in bilateral, multilateral, regional fora, that we are for a rules-based international order. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek Morales. Now for the Department of Justice, the President said, isa sa mga dahilan ng pagtaas ng presyo ay mga smugglers, hoarders at nagmamanipula ng presyo ng produktong agrikultural. Hinahabol at ihahabla natin sila. Sadyang hindi tama ang kanilang gawain at hindi rin ito tugma sa ating magandang layunin. Pandaraya ang kanilang ginagawa. Napapahamak hindi lamang ang mga magsasaka kundi na rin ang mga mamimili. Kaya hindi na rin papayagan ang ganitong kalakaran. Bilang na lang ang mga araw ng mga smugglers at mga hoarders na yan. A very firm statement from the President. Of course, he said it much better than I did. Tell us more about the department's initiative in addressing this problem.
Good afternoon. Thank you very much, Assistant Secretary Daphne, for the opportunity to be present here and to explain further the initiatives that are being undertaken by all the departments after the guidance was made by the President Ferdinand Bongbong Marcos Jr. during his SONA. In respect to the fight against smuggling, the Office of Competition in the Department of Justice had long studied this matter. In fact, we have already a report on onion and garlic smuggling a long time ago. And it's a matter of connecting the dots in respect to the results of the congressional hearings that were undertaken by Congresswoman Stella Kimbo. And the idea here is to initiate now the actual criminal investigation and prosecution. For that purpose, the good Secretary Jesus Crispin Boying Remulla, has already instructed one of our undersecretaries, Undersecretary Injansi, to head a task force. And I was asked as the head of the legal cluster to assist him. This task force is meant to ensure and to invite all relevant government agencies in a comprehensive discussion as well as fact-finding investigation in order to ferret out the truth and to ensure that criminal liability, civil liability could be considered. We intend to initiate the fact-finding investigation by the convening of the task force, and we intend to ask all relevant agencies that have direct participation or stake in the importation of agricultural goods. That would mean that we have to include the Department of Agriculture as the head agency of the Bureau of Plant Industry, the Department of Finance as the head agency of Bureau of Customs, and the law enforcement agencies, as well as our own the National Bureau of Investigation as the lead fact-finding investigation. This is actually not new to us because during the oil spill in Mindoro, we also initiated a fact-finding investigation, and Secretary Galvez then, Charlie Galvez was the OIC of the DND, and he was very instrumental in ensuring that the necessary recovery and rehabilitation efforts on that oil spill was undertaken. And we are proud to say that we have already filed a case for the first time in respect to a maritime disaster like that. For the first time, we were able to file a case for falsification of public document, use of falsified document, and perjury against government officials and the ship owner as well as the ship agents. And new other cases could be initiated. In respect to the agricultural product smuggling, there is a directive to go hard on the hoarders, smugglers, and those that manipulate the prices of the basic necessities or of the basic commodities. We are not gonna be weakened by the so-called lack of action before in respect to smugglers and hoarders. We intend to go all out and to explore the full range of criminal actions that are available to us. Not only smuggling, hoarding, price manipulation, but potentially a non-bailable offense of economic sabotage against all of them. If the evidence will so warrant and whoever would be responsible, we assure the general public, our countrymen, that we will go after them with in the strongest possible sense, the filing of the gravest crime that may be charged, and that could be economic sabotage. Thank you.
Thank you, Undersecretary Vasquez. The next question is for the advisors on national security and peace, reconciliation, and unity. The President said, we have incorporated capacity building and social protection into our reintegration programs to guarantee full decommissioning of former combatants. Through community development and livelihood programs, the barangay development and enhanced comprehensive local integration programs have been effective in addressing the root cause of conflict in the countryside. To complete this reintegration process, I will issue, he said, a proclamation granting amnesty to rebel returnees. I ask Congress to support us in this endeavor. End of quote. Please describe to us your organization's efforts in helping with this mission of the President. This is for both Secretary Año and Secretary Galvez.
Thank you, Daphne. First of all, we thank the President for his announcement that he will be issuing a proclamation granting amnesty to all rebel returnees, as this highlights the government's commitment to achieving peace. The issuance of this presidential proclamation will be an important step to finally end this communist armed conflict. And this will pave the way for the mass surrender of the NPA remnants in the remaining guerrilla fronts of the CPP, NPA, and DF. under our Constitution, the President has the power to grant amnesty with the concurrence of a majority of all the members of Congress. Hence, actually we have already an existing draft, but we will be working closely with the Office of the OPAPRO, DND, DILG, DOJ, to come up with a comprehensive draft that will suit the requirement of the President and as well as his intent, so that this amnesty shall comply to the requirements and to provide these grantees with full benefits and as well as the other amenities that will be given. Marami tayong tinanong ng mga rebel returnees, sabi nila, maraming gusto mag-surrender pero nag-aalala sila sa mga kaso na nakapatong sa kanilang mga ulo. No? So, kung makakaroon tayo ng amnesty, then mawawala na yung mga agam-agam na yan. And finally, we will achieve the lasting peace. And we would like to take advantage of this because I would like to thank the President for his continuing support to the National Task Force to End the Local Communist Armed Conflict in the flagship programs like the support to the Barangay Program, which deliver much-needed development projects to the barangay that are recently cleared, and also the enhanced comprehensive local integration program, which supports the reintegration of rebel returnees to mainstream society. His personal commitment for these programs means that the President is truly determined to address the root causes of armed conflict in the countryside. So once again, I will say that this amnesty will be a game changer. And finally, with this amnesty, we can now have permanent, lasting peace in our country, particularly if we are talking about the communist armed conflict.
Thank you, Secretary Año. And Secretary Galvez?
Thank you, Daphne, for inviting us here and also to translate the commitment of our President. And I would like to thank the President for his unwavering commitment to the peace process. In fact, yung mga statement niya na ginawa sa SONA, most of our partners, peace partners, are very happy, particularly when he announced the proclamation of amnesty. Yun po ang nung nag-uusap po kami ng National Amnesty Commission. Yun po ang sinasabi nila talagang yung crowning glory ng reconciliation and unity. Without amnesty, yung political at saka civil rights of our former rebels and combatants will not be restored. And with that, nakikita natin maganda po yung proclamation, yung amnesty, talagang lahat po ng ating mga partners, including international partners, are very, very happy. Yung sa transformation po ng ating former combatants, napakaganda po ng mga binitawan na salita ng ating mga mahal na presidente dahil talagang ang commitment niya po talaga ay talagang napakaganda sa transformation ng mga combatants, families, at saka communities. And also providing support through our DBM, yung ating pamana project for the reconstruction of those conflict-affected areas that have been heavily damaged by conflict. So, magpapasalamat po kami kay Secretary Año, ang ating pinaka-executive director and deputy director ng ating National Task Force, LCAC, and we are so happy at napakaganda po ng SONA na binigay po ng ating mahal na presidente. Maraming salamat at mabuhay po tayo.
Thank you, Secretary Galvez. Now let's move on. This is the next question for the AFP and the PNP. Strengthening and modernizing the police and the AFP have also been mentioned by the President in the SONA. This is to ensure that we remain effective in maintaining peace and order and capable of defending our sovereignty. Describe to us the improvements in equipment and facilities that your respective groups have gained the past year. What technological advancements are we looking forward to in the future under the PBBM administration? Question 4. Let's start with AFP Chief General Bronner.
Yes, good afternoon, Daphne, and good afternoon to my fellow panelists. Well, this afternoon I'm seated together with my immediate boss, the Secretary of National Defense, Secretary Teodoro, within kicking distance, so to speak. We are very fortunate, Daphne, that our President is very supportive of our modernization efforts. And for the recent years, we have procured a lot of modern equipment. If I may mention some of this, we have Black Hawk helicopters, frigates, close air support aircraft, air defense surveillance radars, unmanned aerial vehicles or drones, multi-role fighters, corvettes, anti-submarine helicopters, light tanks, sniper weapons, tactical radios, amphibious assault vehicles, civil engineering equipment, pistols, and more of this equipment. For the third horizon of the modernization program, we are looking at acquiring multi-role fighter aircraft, naval assets, command and control or C2 systems, shore-based deterrent capabilities, submarines, and the like. But one thing that we would like to really develop in the next years is the capability for cyber warfare. And this is one capability where we could excel in the armed forces of the Philippines, and we could be at par with even the modern countries. But aside from the equipment acquisition, we are also looking into the training of our personnel in order for us to be able to really cope with the demands of the regional threats, and also to make sure that we will be able to use the equipment, the modern equipment, properly. Kailangan po nating alagaan din itong mga modern equipment. We have to sustain them properly. And lastly, we will also help in the propagation of the archipelagic mindset that our President mentioned, not only in the SONA, but during my assumption as the Chief of Staff, we will help our citizens develop that mindset of patriotism, being able to defend our country from any threats, whether it is man-made or natural. Thank you.
Thank you, General Bronner. At this point, let's hear from the Chief Public Information Officer of the PNP, General Maranan.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon. To everyone, good afternoon. I was introduced earlier as the Chief PNP, but I'm only the Public Information Officer, ma'am, because the Chief PNP is attending an equally important meeting also in Malacanang. So for the Philippine National Police, we have what we call the Capability Enhancement Program, wherein we are focusing on acquisition and upgrading of our organizational equipment, and we call it our move, shoot, communicate and investigate capabilities. And we'd like to thank our President for providing us funds to achieve our fill-up percentage requirement for the year. And we would like to report that on our move capability, we were able to achieve or attain a 54% percentage fill-up of our requirement for the year. And for our shoot capability, we are nearing our 100% percentage fill-up. We were able to achieve 99% for this year. And for our communicate capability, we were able to achieve our target for the year. And now we have 64% percentage fill-up. And on our investigative capabilities, we were able to achieve a 52% percentage fill-up. So with that, we can now effectively perform our mandate as the primary law enforcement agency of our country. And we'd like also to report that we were able to finish 140 infrastructure projects comprising mostly of construction of police station in Parplang area. So ngayon po, mas madali nang maabot ng ating mga kababayan yung ating pulis sapagkat marami na tayong naipatayong police station, lalo-lalo na doon sa mga geographically isolated and disadvantaged areas. So with that, we would like to, on behalf of our GPNP and the 228 strong Philippine National Police members, gusto natin pasalamatan po ang ating Pangulong Marcos for that.
Thank you, General Maranan. Let's ask our presidential advisor on peace, reconciliation, and unity again, Secretary Galvez. The President said, "We are proud of the progress that the BARM has taken. It will be self-governing, progressive, and effective." Tell us about your work that your office has put into this, or this in order to achieve progress that the President has mentioned. Pakikwento naman po ang tagumpay ng BARM.
Gaya po ng sabi ng ating mahal na Presidente sa State of the Nation na address SONA nitong nakaraang Lunes, we are very proud of the progress of the BARM at yung kada yapak natin tungo sa kapayapaan at kaunlaran ay kalakip nito ang hard work at dedikasyon ng parehong panig ng gobyerno at ng ating kapatid na Muslim na Mindanao. It's very critical that we build on the peace gains and ensure the continuing progress such as the passage of the remaining priority codes. Pagkaalam po natin, meron tayong tinatawag na 7 codes na gagawin ng ating Bangsamoro Transition Authority, and we are already more than halfway. Nagawa na nila yung electoral code, is very important, yung sa election, first election natin sa BARM this coming 2025. At ongoing ang kanilang electoral code and also yung IP code and the revenue code. Ang napakagandang nagawa po ng ating mahal na Presidente ay nung 2 buwan bago nung after nung kanyang assumption ay nabuo niya po yung napakagandang Unified Bangsamoro Transition Authority. Unang-una sa lahat, first time na nagkasama-sama ang MNLF at saka MILF na 46 years na hindi nagkikita, at saka talaga nakikita natin hindi nagkakasama sa ganitong sitwasyon. Nung kanilang inauguration sa nung August 12, sama-sama po ang ating mga MLF brothers at saka MILF brothers na nanumpa po sa ating mahal na Presidente. At ang kagandahan po na nakita natin, na unified natin ang buong Bangsamoro. Kasama na ang mga tinatawag nating ating mga moral leaders, including yung ating mga royal families, ay nagkaroon ng tinatawag nating iisang samahan doon sa BTA. At sa ngayon, sa normalisasyon, nakita natin, meron na po tayo na decommission na more than 24,000 combatants. At gusto po namin i-announce na this coming August 3, meron po tayong 1,300 na combatants na i-decommission ulit para makumpleto po yung tinatawag natin yung mga first phase, second phase, and third phase na 26,000. At next year, at sa susunod na mga taon, 14,000 na lang po o tinatawag natin yung 35% na lang ang natin. Ano pa ang gagawin natin sa Bangsamoro? Yung ano po natin, ang ating priority, yung talagang yung socio-economic. Dahil kasi kalakip ng amnesty, dapat ang kanilang mga pamumuhay, yung mga ating mga combatants, ay mapaayos ang kanilang kabuhayan. At sa nakikita po natin ngayon, malaki po ang naging impact, even though na-disrupt ng COVID-19 yung ating implementation, napakaganda po ng performance ng BARM kasi nung 2021, 7.5 ang kanilang GDP. Nung mga 24 years, yung ARM, ang ano po nila, pinaka-highest ng GDP is only 3%. Sa ngayon, pumapalo na po sila sa 7.5%. And 36% ng aqua resources na nakukuha ng mga fisheries, galing po yun sa BARM. 36%. At ngayon, nakikita natin yung kanilang poverty rate ay bumababa na po. Dati, ang kanilang poverty rate ay more or less 56%. Ang Lanao del Sur po ngayon ay nasa single digit na po, 9%. Ang Sulu, maganda na ang Sulu. Dati, nasa po ako doon. Halos araw-araw, encounter po kami. Ngayon, ang ganda ng Sulu. Ang tawag na namin, may nightlife na. Dahil dati noon, wala po talaga nightlife. 2 o'clock, sarado na po ang lahat ang bahay. Ngayon po, marami pong mga tinatawag na bakasyonista na pwede na po silang magbike at saka doon po sa mga tinatawag na mga tourist spots sa mga beaches ay ang ating mga sundalo at saka ang ating mga ibang mga turista ay sama-sama po doon. Ang Tawi-Tawi, nakita natin ang ganda ng Tawi-Tawi, napakatahimik. Ang Basilan, ganun din po. At ang Maguindanao, nakikita po namin maganda po ang magiging kalagayan. We are very thankful that we have a very genuine president na talagang sa kanyang pag-upo, talagang binuo niya at unify niya ang Bangsamoro. Maraming salamat po.
Thank you, Secretary Galvez. At sana tuloy-tuloy na talaga ang kapayapaan and progress sa BARM. Thank you. This is for DBM. Harmonizing national and local government priorities is one of the administration's thrust. Is the administration considering simultaneously implementing the full devolution with the enactment of the LGU Income Classification Act? What are the other efforts of the government to prepare and capacitate LGUs in their eventual takeover of devolved functions and services?
Thank you for the question. At the outset, it may be noted that full devolution effort and the initiative to institutionalize automatic income classification of LGUs are different undertakings, but then both or the same can be pursued simultaneously. Automatic income classification, or the act that's intended to be enacted, aims to provide an equitable and rational system of regular income classification of LGUs that will reflect automatically, factually, and realistically their respective financial capabilities, consistent, of course, with prevailing economic conditions and even peace and order conditions. With this, these are updated on a regular basis, and this could help them in among three ways. For example, on their financial capability to undertake development initiatives, and then secondly, that will also help determine on how big or the distribution of financial assistance, grants, and aids coming from the national government or even from donors. And lastly, of course, this should help them determine such types of compensation adjustments for LGU personnel based on their personal services limitations, as prescribed, of course, by Republic Act number 7160 and the salary schedule that are implemented for different types of LGUs based again on the prevailing salary standardization law. All in all, of course, both automatic income classification and devolution can complement one another by determining what kind of phase and strategies that can be implemented for a specific LGU for different types of income classification. In the end, of course, this will make a policy on distribution of, for example, the Growth Equity Fund for with a more data, evidence, and scientific-based basis for determining assistance and grants to LGUs. On the part of the other agencies of government like DILG together with DBM, capacity building will continue in terms of good governance, in terms of financial capability, like how to get financing outside their regular NTAs to help them finance their other development initiatives. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, Yusek Basilio. Now, this is for Anti-Red Tape Authority, Director General Perez. Since assuming office, the President has had 30 agreements signed with foreign investors. Per release data, these agreements are anticipated to facilitate $64.27 billion worth of investments and approximately 175,000 job employments. What steps is ARTA taking to ensure that these agreements and investment pledges are realized?
Maraming salamat, Daphne. Unang-una, nais ko pong batiin ang ating mga kasamahan dito ngayon na nanonood, aking pong mga kasamahan sa Anti-Red Tape Authority, the young men and women of ARTA who have been really helping us follow the directives of the President. I wish to thank the President for mentioning ARTA in SONA when he said that we will embrace digitalization for ease of doing business and to promote bureaucracy. Under the Marcos administration's socio-economic agenda, one of which is bureaucratic efficiency. The President is very clear in his directive, and I experienced this when I had that rare opportunity of attending cabinet meetings and listening to his speeches. He always emphasizes streamlining and digitalization of government processes, because businessmen before they decide to engage business or invest in any country, would always think about ease of doing business. Kasi pag na-address po natin yung ease of doing business and we promote bureaucratic efficiency, we should be able to address red tape and corruption. And the records would show that when we are able to streamline and digitalize processes, we are able to cut red tape in a substantial amount. Marami pong ginagawa ang Anti-Red Tape Authority. At following the directives of the President, and also, of course, in our meetings with businessmen, chambers of commerce, the number one concern is really about ease of doing business. That's why our main, the focus of our job at the Anti-Red Tape Authority is first, during the pandemic, we initiated together with the DICT the joint memorandum circular on shared tower to ensure that there is ease of doing business in the construction and maintenance of towers that will ensure stronger and faster internet connection. And we've all witnessed that during the pandemic, ang kahalagahan ng internet connection. That's why ito po, kasama natin yung mga telco companies, tower companies. We had 2 workshops already. Biro yung mga competitors, they shared information because they really want to help this country. And the President signed Executive Order 32, following the Bayanihan Act, that extended the validity of that JMC that we signed together with the DJMC. Malaki po ang pasasalamat talaga ng mga stakeholders, kababayan natin sa ating Presidente. Because, whenever I attend, palagi ko po na-feel yung ating Presidente. Palagi niyang bilang isang congressman, senador, governor, and now President, he really feels the pulse of the people. Every time a proposal is given to him and discussed during cabinet meetings, he will always think about, dapat hindi natin pinapahirapan yung taong bayan. Dapat walang layer. Dapat walang red tape. Yun po ang ating, kaya makakaasa po ang ating mga kababayan sa pamumuno po nating Presidente. At we at the Anti-Red Tape Authority, as the agency under the Office of the President, tasked to implement the policy on ease of doing business and Anti-Red Tape Authority. Makakaasa po ang mga businessmen na dito po sa Pilipinas merong ease of doing business. That's why records will show. Ito pong sa pag-implement natin ng Business One-Stop Shop on shared towers, World Bank figures showed that there was an increase in the permit for the construction of towers before JMC from 9,000 to 36,000 towers constructed all over the country. On the setting up, establishment of and operationalization of business one-stop shop together with the DICT, the program on IPPLS or Integrated Business Permitting and Licensing System, which the DICT developed, we were able to implement that.